Listen, I'm kind of jealous. I like one of the videos that you did on your Instagram regarding inspiration and the word inspiring. So we're gonna talk about that. I'm gonna ask you about that. But thank you for putting this time. As you know, on this page we discussed Napoleon Hill and his philosophy. So let's start with that first, and then we're going to get to your book and what you've published and your coaching. I would like to get a little bit of information on it. So
Sure.
at what age did you get introduced to Napoleon Hill and his philosophy?
At what age? I think I was, let's see, so I would have been in my early 30s.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, that's nice. So that's that's cool. So how did you get introduced? Was it somebody that recommended, or did you just?
So I was in a pretty challenging space in my life and reached out to a mentor, and he said that there's 2 books I want you to study, and one of them was Think and Grow Rich, and the other one was The Keys to Power and Personal Peace. And I've studied both of them a lot.
I have not read that. So what was that? Keys to Personal?
The Key to Power and Personal Peace by U.S. Anderson.
U.S. Anderson. All right, I'm gonna check that out. I'm gonna get a review on that. I'm gonna check. Good. So you start reading it. What was the first thing that popped out to you when you started reading Think and Grow Rich?
Every adversity has a seed of equivalent opportunity. Yeah.
Only if more people can understand.
What I was doing back then, and I'm not kidding you, I've probably listened to a 2-hour summary of Think and Grow Rich, if probably 300 times. I just want, because I used to be a jeweler, and I just played that tape over and over and over and over and over. It was actually a CD, but yeah, I just played it over and over and over and over. So yeah, it's deep in my mind.
Wow, that's 200 times. And I mean, a lot of the youngsters right now, they don't even know what a CD is.
Right.
They don't even know. So you did it back in the days with CDs. That's awesome. So let me ask you a question. How did the Think and Grow Rich and the philosophies, how did you apply it in your business? What were a couple of the things that you implemented on daily, routinely? Give us a little bit of a how-to.
I think the one that really stood out to me then, I was actually working for somebody when I was listening to it. I was working for somebody and doing my business home on the side, and it says doing more than what you're paid for. That one really, really took me. And then it was the 12 things that he talks about what is success. And then the other part that probably has been instrumental as to where I'm at today is really coming up with a succinct definition of what success is. And that is the pursuit of something, a worthy ideal. And I mean, a lot of people don't even know what success means to them. And because they don't know what it means to them, they end up having failure be a part of it. If they understood what success really was, that they would understand that they're on course to do whatever they need to do in order to achieve that. So that was a big one for me. Okay,
so let's talk about success. Elaborate a little bit on that. What do you mean if people understand what success means to them?
Yeah, so a lot of people, when you start asking them where they want to go and what they want to live for and things like that, they don't really have a succinct answer. I used to coach men and teaching them how to be men. And it's another one of those things. You ask a man, what does it mean to be a man? They really can't succinctly answer that. Same thing with success, because they just know that it's outside of them. And yet, if you get them to come up with a clear answer within themselves, then they will know that they're on the path in order for them to achieve whatever it is that they want to achieve. So with Napoleon Hill, his definition of success is the pursuit of a worthy ideal. So it's very simple. It's very ambiguous. It's not, and that's one of the things with a lot of people, what they end up doing is we have rules about everything, and whether we're conscious of them or not. And what ends up happening is people put these labels on things that they're not really sure what they really mean to themselves. And then if you start asking them, what does success mean? They have all of these criterias that's almost impossible for them to meet. And then if they're not meeting them perfectly, I don't like that word perfectly, that's why I did this, but getting them to, if they're not meeting their unconscious rules, then they are living in this constant state of feeling like they're not measuring up, like they're in a constant state of failure. And that is the worst type of motivation that somebody can have, because it's not consistent with where they want to go. So when I came up, and it's the one Napoleon Hill has, is the pursuit of a worthy ideal. So I'm always succeeding. I am always succeeding. It doesn't matter what the evidence of that is. I am always succeeding because I'm always pursuing my worthy ideal, which is to be a part of transforming this planet. It's to empower others to live in their fullest potential. That's my mission statement. And because of that, I know I'm always moving towards that. Now, there are times that it doesn't feel like it. Absolutely. I'm human. I get into unresourceful states and, you know, have people in my life that support me and get me back on track. But I know that I'm always moving forward. And, you know, the more I've studied this, you know, and I don't know if a lot of people of your listeners know this or not, is Think and Grow Rich, and I was going to bring it out here. Think and Grow Rich was actually a promotional book for the laws of success, right?
Correct.
You look at the laws of success, it's that thick, right?
600 pages. Do you want me to get mine?
What's that?
Do you want me to get mine? I'll get it for you.
Yeah, yes, please. And the other part is this understanding. Yeah, there it is. Phenomenal, phenomenal book. It's a huge, huge book, but the Think and Grow Rich was actually written as a promotional for that book. And if you listen, you know, a lot of people have, and another one of my mentors, Mark Joyner, phenomenal, phenomenal marketer. Anybody, Simpleology, I would encourage everybody to check out Simpleology. But what he did is he asked everybody in an audience, big audience that he was teaching to, he says, how many of you have read Think and Grow Rich? About 70% raised their hands. Then he said, how many of you have done the self-confidence formula? About 5% raised their hand. Then he says, of you 5% that wrote the self-confidence formula, how many of you have memorized it? Not one hand raised in their house. Here is my success formula, okay? I wrote this out when I started reading, and you can see it's very worn out, it's very tattered, and I have this on my vision board. And the reason it's the incremental little things that end up compounding over time that gets us to be where the desired outcome that we want. And so many people want to go from A to Z, but they don't understand that you have to go through B and Y to be prepared in order to receive Z. And that's one, you know, a lot of people like on Think and Grow Rich, he was writing that book when he was mentoring Franklin D. Roosevelt in the White House in the Depression. So he was writing the book to keep his mind positive. A lot of people don't know that about the book, but it's really putting things in context. And I think so many people end up making assumptions or judgments on something, and they have a very limited amount of information.
I totally agree with that. And here's what the statistics that I have done on my little time of research is that whenever I ask people, majority of people have heard of Think and Grow Rich or have done a little bit of study. Then we get to the B group, if I should categorize it like that, where they read it, they implement it, and they know more than the A group, and they're applying it on every day. And this is what happens. They pick one of the principles and they get a lot of results with that principles. For me, is the discipline part, is the persistent, is not giving, is the Henry Ford part. I want a V8 engine from one cast iron. I'm going to have it, and we're going to do whatever it takes. That's the part that I got. So this is part of the B group. The B group gets one or two philosophies, and they run with it. So they don't get all the 16, 13 principles, let's put them together, let's just say 20 principles that exist. So they get a couple of them and they get results. Now they're getting results more than the A group, so they think they actually found the secret principles. So they're like, okay, I'm done. I don't need any more. They do a little touch up, little polishing here and there, and that's it.
Right.
Then you get to the C group. The C group is the elite of the elite. Those are the people like you. They write their affirmation. I'm kind of on the borderline of a B group, but I want to be part of a C group. So past almost 9-10 years, I've written down my affirmation. I got my vision board. I don't know if you see it. I got my vision board and everything else. I actually did a video on how to create your vision board less than $5. With less than $5, you could do a vision board. I could probably do it with free also too, but I wanted to put $5 so you got some skin in the game.
Right,
you got to put $5, right? Absolutely. So I did that. So it's part of that C group. And here is what I was going to get to. This was my point, that the AB don't even know about this book.
Mm-hmm.
That's the crazy part.
Right.
And then when I talk to the C groups, the C group don't even like Think and Grow Rich. This is the craziest thing. They're like, Think and Grow Rich? Come on, man, that's for kids. I'm all like, what are you talking about? That thing changed my life. What do you mean it's for kids? And they're like, you got to get this. Now, this is what's the elite. This is what they read. But I wouldn't recommend that to brand new people that are getting introduced to Napoleon Hill, because success, that thing is thick and hard. It's not easy. And it's not written in today's language either.
Right. And it's important for people to understand that everything is part of compounding on top of what we already know. And when I heard this from Brian Tracy, and there's two things I heard from Brian Tracy that absolutely changed my mind. Of course, it's the same stuff that Napoleon Hill talked about. Actually, before I say it, I wanted to say, you know, Napoleon Hill talks about it, but he doesn't come right out and say it about collective conscious and your consciousness attracts stuff and law of attraction and stuff like that. He doesn't use that verbiage, but it's all throughout the book. He keeps saying, there's the secret, but I'm not going to tell you what it is. Well, when you get there, you understand it. I ended up actually having the last man standing on my show, on my Jeff Faldalen live show. His name is Ben Gay III. He is actually the last man that's alive that was a very good friend of Napoleon Hill's. That's how it's all come back full circle to be where I'm at today. But what I wanted to share with the Brian Tracy thing is Brian Tracy said, what determines how much you make in anything is the value you're going to bring to the marketplace. But the thing that's important for people to understand is the value that you bring to the marketplace isn't contingent upon you. It's about what value is received by your consumer, whoever that is, right? So when I got that, I was like, so you mean to tell me that the more books I read, the more seminars I go to, the more coaching I get, the more techniques I learn, all of this is going to be able to put me in a position that I can write my ticket and make as much money as I want? And I got that about 10 years ago. And then that was the other part with Brian Tracy, was that he said, if I came into your house at 3 o'clock in the morning, I put a gun to your head and says, you need to tell me what your purpose is or I'm pulling the trigger. And the reason this is important is because it puts something out in front of you that you're always moving towards. Just like Henry Ford, just like Thomas Edison. These guys had a vision and they didn't get caught up in all of the process that they needed to go through in order to get what they wanted to achieve. So when you come up with a purpose statement, then you know what it is that you are living for, your bigger purpose of what your life means. And it's been, and the irony of it, I just had kind of an epiphany shift right now. Mine was to use my creativity and passion to empower others to live into their fullest potential. Okay, I wrote that 12 years ago. Okay, now here's my book, The Map to People's Fullest Potential. And I just caught that just now. That's the power of knowing where it is that you're going, because it's just like God, the universe, whatever you want to call it, says, okay, you get to create the life that you want to create. Okay, I gave you the power of free will. I gave you the power of free choice. And if we understand that every single choice that we make has a consequence, don't look at it as good or bad, just understanding cause and effect. Every choice that I make is going to have a consequence. That if we step into our power and understand that we are unique fingerprints, expressions of a higher divine calling, the more we step into that, the more we will own it, the more we will raise the vibration that will attract other people into our lives to make that mission a reality.
I totally agree with that. But that's, I don't know how to say this, but that's difficult for people to apply if this is like their first introduction to Napoleon Hill Think and Grow Rich. Because I keep telling people, you got to write your affirmation, you got to read it once at nighttime, once in the morning, and throughout the day, you got to have that. But it's just, we're so wired in tune.
So, and that's a great point. That's a great point. But this is what I want to say in response to that. All we have to do is focus on changing our life 1% every day. 1%. That's it. And so it's read 10 pages of a good book every single day. Think and Grow Rich. If you haven't read Think and Grow Rich, start reading 10 pages of Think and Grow Rich every single day. If it's not that, then get the Law of Success. I promise you, this is a promise that anybody can hold me up to. You read 10 pages of the Laws of Success. You commit to that, to read 10 pages of that book every day until it's finished. Your life will completely have changed. I promise you that. I guarantee it. So it's that, it's listening to 15 minutes of an audio, it's getting in front of people that are going to inspire you, because the reason we design our lives, whether we want to take responsibility for that or not, we design our lives. But what is designing our lives is the unconscious programs that are running inside of us. Okay. And this is why it's, and I got to keep this simple but it's understanding your environment is determining how you see things. So you created an environment by reading good books, by reading Think and Grow Rich, by showing up to shows like this, by listening to other people, that's going to give you that one nugget that's going to unlock endless possibilities within yourself. I highly encourage you to check out the Jeff Faldalen live show as well, because again, the reason I started out is probably the same reason you did, is to bring other thought leaders together to bring a message that lifts people's their awareness and stepping into their potentiality. Because potential is the actualization of possibility. Okay? When you understand what that looks like and the steps in order for you to get there, your mind, your unconscious mind wants to serve you. So it's going to know this is what's possible. Let's make that happen. It's just like the story of Roger Bannister, and Napoleon Hill talks about that, right? Right. I guess he didn't, because that was written before that, but it's the same philosophy, that they had mathematically proved that breaking the 4-minute mile was impossible. They had mathematically proved it because they needed to make sense of the fact that nobody had done it yet. But as soon as it was done, look at how many people have broken it since then, right? There's evidence, and the evidence is something I'd encourage all your listeners. If it's been done, it's possible. If it's been done, it's possible. And there's been how many multi-billion-dollar companies have started up within the last 10 years? Uber. There was no Uber 10 years ago, right? There was no B&B. There were all these companies that have started because thinking that, well, it's too late, or there's not enough out there, or this idea won't, is just you getting into lack mentality. It's just you challenging your thoughts, because what determines the quality of our lives is the images that we have in our head and the thoughts we tell ourselves. Those are the two things that control our lives. Because it's not that we're afraid of what's out here, we're afraid of the image that we have inside of our head. So it's being controlled, it's controlling that so that we can, because these are perceivers, but they're also projectors, right? And that, going through Napoleon Hill stuff, it's all there. But I didn't see it in the beginning. I didn't see all that stuff in the beginning. Now I go back to it, it's like, oh my gosh, this guy was like, he was a prophet. Genius. He really was.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, think about it. He studied all these successful people going and getting help from, from Andrew Carnegie. I mean, it's just amazing. And that's what it takes, for you to call someone a prophet. They have done such an extraordinary, message, and they have been connected to the infinite intelligence where they are telling you things. And then like myself, and you just touched up on that, what I looked at it and I go back where I wrote on my affirmation, what kind of car I want, what kind of a house, what kind of this. Some of it didn't happen, but the stuff that did happen was so profound. I was like, oh my God, like I wrote it here and it happened. Like, how crazy is that? Like, and then I started thinking, I was like, now I better think 2-3 times about it before I put it on paper, because if it does happen, could it be something that I didn't want? And it was just my ego, or this, or I just wanted for material things, or did I really, really want this where it's going to give me a fulfillment lifestyle? Right. So it's crazy when you see that. And I didn't see that the first couple of years. And then now I go back, I'm like, we achieved that, we achieved that, we achieved that. And it's like so crazy. And I think it was in 2013 or 14, I wrote on my affirmation that, I want to build a YouTube channel, Instagram, this, all that stuff. And for the first 2 years, nothing happened. We didn't even start an account. We didn't even have an account. Right. So then, last week I was telling my guys over here, and we're sitting there, I'm like, now we're on track right now, Jeff, to do 1,000 episodes.
Nice.
We're on the right track to do 1 episode, and I think we're going to do 1/4 of it before the year ends. And nice. It's crazy where it got accumulated. Now I'm thinking, we got to go write bigger goals. We got to go start writing that. Cross out the 10 million. We want 100 million. No 10 million. Nothing small anymore. So, and that's what happens. We had a limited amount of belief here. Once those limitations were broken down, and now we know that it's limitless, now we can think freely. I think I got the freedom back. Now I can think.
Right. And there are three things I want to give a takeaway for your audience, because that's hugely important is to understand this, is because, you know, having the goals of the Ferraris and, you know, and I have them, I have them as well. Right. But the important thing is the person you become in attaining that. That's the goal. That is the goal of you becoming the person, because it's just like metal. Once you bend metal, you cannot put it back. Right. So you have to be willing to let go of the relationship you have with this person now in order to embrace the person you need to become in order to achieve whatever you need to achieve. Okay. Right. Your unconscious mind wants to protect you. That's its highest prime directive within it. It wants to protect you, which is why we've been able to survive as long as we've been able to survive, right? The second thing is that what determines the quality of your life and how you see your life is the images you have in your head and the scripts you tell yourself. How do you talk to yourself when something doesn't turn out the way you hoped? Do you beat yourself up? Do you sit there and say, I'm a loser, blah, blah, blah? Or do you say, hey, you know what? That Thomas Edison, 10,000 times. He wasn't focused on the 10,000 times. He was focused on where he wanted to go, right? And then the third thing is to get comfortable being in the uncomfortable. Because your unconscious, because it wants to protect you, has created this threshold called the comfort zone, okay? And I seen somebody said that they have to get past procrastination. Procrastination is a strategy. It's a neurological strategy inside of us. How you break down procrastination is you continually step into it. You change the value of how you see it. Every one of us that has kids on here, if your kid needed something, if your kid needed you to make your dream come true for their life depended on you making your dream come true, I promise you, you would not stop. You would just keep going and you would make it happen. Why? Because you value your child's life, as we should, right? But what if you valued the life of your dream the same? It would radically change your life. You wouldn't be, because when we're going into something, it's like, okay, do I value this person accepting me and not rejecting me more than I do my dream? Right? We've got to be able to understand what is it that we value the most, and being able to assess it honestly, because it's okay. We can't have courage without fear. You can't have courage without fear. You have to go through the fear in order to experience courage. You have to, right? So it's understanding these types of things. So I love what you're doing. I love it. And I would love to have you come on my show because this is great. This is a great movement and I love it. So.
Thank you so much, Jeff. I know this is a very valuable time for you, and we encourage a lot of other people. But I tell you one thing, it's so crazy. We get individuals like yourself, a lot of like-minded individuals are coming through with this channel and the mastermind group that we have created. But then I got to tell you something. A lot of people don't see the stuff behind the scene. I have got people that said no to me. I've got people that ignored my DMs. I have people that canceled on me. I have people that didn't answer. I have people that said that it won't work. What are you doing? It doesn't make sense. I mean, any kind of, I'm not going to go into all the DMs that I get or all the negativity that we get, but I promise you, I've got more punches than the, you know, the the good jobs one. But more punches there. But we're not going to stop, because I believe Think and Grow Rich has changed my life. I don't think it's done what it has done for me yet. I think I'm in the process and I'm learning every day. But I think a lot of individuals, as a whole society, I was talking about this, Jeff, the other day. I'm enrolling a lot of people in it. And I keep telling people, I don't want to change the world. I want to change San Fernando Valley that I live in, this 30 miles radius. If I can change this 30 miles radius and bring value and help these people rethink and grow rich, put their affirmations down, become more successful. If we change this a small community, this community could just spread out and get the whole, you know, LA County. Then we can go to California. Then we go to other states. And it starts with little. Because if I start thinking I want to change the world, I'm going to start panicking.
Right.
Because I don't think I can.
Right.
You know, it's way too big. It's beyond my reach. Now, if I help a couple of people and get you on my show and, you know, come on your show and start, things will happen. It might take the next 10, 15 years. It may not be overnight.
Yeah, and I appreciate what you said, because I was just thinking about this morning, and just like you had said, I have reached out to people that, you know, I started my show, and I mean, it says it, where conversation ignites new possibilities. because there's people that I'm not going to reach. But I can have a guest on there that speaks in a way that resonates with somebody else that I'm not able to. But I can't tell, just almost mirror exactly what you had said, in the sense of, I've reached out to so many people and they're like, well, how many followers do you have? How many views are you getting? Blah, blah, blah. And I've had multiple New York bestsellers on my show that are powered up speakers, motivators, influencers. And they say, I would love to be on your show. They all, because they're focused on getting their message out there any way possible. Right. And it's just like, are you kidding me? I mean, and it is what it is, right? But understanding, but you kept going, and I'm going to keep going, and we're just going to make this thing happen, because this is important. I want everybody on your show to hear this. This is the game changer. You're focused on a higher calling, just like I'm focused on a higher calling. That's what you focused on. That's what keeps your vibration high, because if you start getting into the lower vibration crap, like I'm getting rejected, nobody's doing this, that is going to take the light out of what we're trying to do here, okay? We have all, and as I put this, one of my quotes on my fan page, it says, the common denominator in success is getting your butt kicked. It's the struggle. It's the struggle, because you have to learn. One of the things I share with my clients is to get you to think, when is a problem no longer a problem? It's when we figure out what the solution is. Once we figure out what the solution is, it's no longer a problem, right? But we're going to get given challenges in the process. And I just did a whole thing on the Potential Zone podcast on this, because it's on the problem is just going to get bigger. So if we ask ourselves, what's not the problem? It puts us outside of the parameters that problem has created for us, right? So you're focused on a higher calling. I'm focused on a higher calling. And people that are on here, give yourself permission to step into your freaking awesomeness and look in the mirror and say, I am awesome. I am valuable. I am worthy. I can do the things that I long to do, and stop surrounding yourself with people that need to make sense of their limiting beliefs. That's the biggest thing I can tell you. And it's going to change a little bit at a time, a little bit at a time. A water drop can take out a mountain. It's just understanding every single day, put something forward that's in line with where you want to be.
Coach Jeff, I really appreciate you being on our channel. I am not done with you. Don't think this is the last one. I am not done with you. I'm taking this privilege right now of having you on our show more. We're going to do more videos. And listen, I have created 2 processes for increasing Instagram followers and getting better results throughout the DMs. So I'm going to privately message you, and I'm going to tell you what secrets I've been working on, and maybe share that, and hopefully that will change. We just want to get to know more people. So you and I are going to be in contact for sure now that I know what you're about and what you're doing. This is just an introduction, and we're going to do a lot of great things together. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you so much. We'll see you later.
My book.
Send me a picture of it, please. I'd like to have it on our channel. Cool. DM me a picture, as many photos you got. Send me. I'm gonna promote it on our channel for sure.
Awesome. Thanks so much, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Jeff. Take care, brother. I'll talk to you later. Bye bye.